No, Mr. Goat, you can't go to Miami with me. They don't allow cats in Miami. Danielle Collins ruined my Saturday. I was going to buy women's final tickets. I wanted to see Venus. I guess I can't see Venus now. Thanks, Danielle Collins. Who is Danielle Collins? Well, you know, Ostapenko is a lot of fun to watch. Would you buy a ticket for Saturday because of Ostapenko? She is pretty cool, right? It's Miami time, and we're down to the semifinals for both men's and women's. Well, we get a couple quarterfinals today. We'll talk about that in a second. And we're going to talk about how different this picture looks the years past. Of course, we're going to do a little tennis history, talk about Roger and Rafa. 14 years ago, some history was made. We're going to talk a little bit about Del Potro and Raonic, some of my thoughts on the match, and we're going to go through the draw, and you can imagine you're me, and that you have semifinals and finals tickets, and we're going to figure out who do we want to see. Of course, comment below who you would like to see of the remaining players, and of course, most importantly today, we're going to tell you a little bit about Operation Boost Out! That's right, if I'm going to go down there and there's no Fed, there's no Rafa, there's no big 4, 5, 6, whatever you want to call it, I at least want to see Potro Busta against maybe Sasha Zverev. We'll get into that in a second. First, a tweet. We go to the tweeters. This is from Manohar Somu. At Coffee Break 10s. You can follow me at Coffee Break 10s, T-E-N-S. Will Isner make it into the finals against Delpo? Isner's serve was superb against Chung. Well, actually, that is a semifinal, so I will see Isner versus Del Potro, but we still haven't decided who I'm going to see in the other. I guess it's pretty simple. Let's just get that out of the way now. Put up the draw on the screen. This is decided. Del Potro versus Isner. That's a tough pick to me. Both of these guys are very similar. Like, they've got a lot of weapons and firepower. Obviously, Del Potro moves way better than Isner, but Isner serves better. These are both guys where they got a lot of game, but I never trust them to go deep in tournaments because I feel like they're like ticking time bombs. They're big, somewhat older bodies, right? These are the oldest guys in the tournament, which is kind of weird. I remember when Del Potro was a young guy. So yeah, these guys are kind of older players with very big bodies. They break down faster, so I don't know who to pick. I guess I would go through with Del Potro most likely. I think it'll be a more fun final when you have the crowd behind someone like Delpo. So comment below, what do you want here if you're me? I got a semifinal ticket to this one. In fact, this will probably be the day match because I think they're going to put Delpo on night as much as possible. So I got Alexander Zverev versus Borna Coric, Pablo Carreno Busta! Sorry, Mr. Goat. Versus Kevin Anderson. Obviously, I want Busta over Anderson. Who do we want? Do we want to see a Sasha, who I've always been against, but lately, flash some of this up on the screen. Here's a real interesting story. Been watching Sasha Zverev at this tournament. He's playing pretty well finally. It's long overdue. Everyone thought he was going to take over tennis. I said he won't. Now I'm going to say this is a spot for him to succeed. If he's going to be the next big thing, he should win this tournament. I don't know if he can get past Coric. As you know, he's down 2-0 in the head-to-head. And I guess it was at the U.S. Open, the media asked, what he thought about the rivalry. I guess they asked him if he considered it a rivalry. He said, no, that's not a rivalry. No way. Nein, nicht, keine spricht. That doesn't even make sense. So listen to this. This is Federer went over to Sasha, Alexander Zverev, at the Australian Open after he'd lost to Chung. Remember, he lost to Chung a little bit early, and then, of course, Chung beat Djokovic. Didn't look as bad after that. Alexander Zverev has never hidden the fact that he looks up to Roger Federer. Recalling the advice Federer gave him after his Australian Open loss in January in Indian Wells, Zverev said, I didn't expect it. I was on the bench in the locker room, and he's on the other side of the locker room. He came up talking to me. Obviously, I was really upset. I was bummed out. Losing a 5-set match in a Grand Slam is never easy. Especially, I knew I was actually playing all right. Right, so if you play good and you still lose, that can be more frustrating because you know you really had a chance. To me, it's more frustrating when you totally suck when you go out there. That's the most frustrating in my opinion. But we all know how it is. It's always different. Every loss is terrible. Anyways, Roger told me a little bit of a story that the first time he got past the quarters, he was already 22 years old. So for me, that was very encouraging. He's the greatest player of all time. And he told me something like that he never passed the quarters until he was 22. I'm only 20 years old. In that case, I still have some time. So I thought that was kind of nice hearing that. That made me feel for Sasha a little bit. And, when Roger's out of the tournament, our emotions can run wild for the other players. By the way, this is from Connie Sinek, Kadlacek. I've always avoided trying to say Connie's last name. Kadlacek. Connie, please tell me how to say it. Anyway, so Connie tweeted that. She also tweeted it over to Napolov, El Napo. But here's a slight caveat for everyone out there, caveat if you're new to the show. He's done it on a few occasions, talking about Roger picking younger players to give advice to. He's done it with Grigor a little bit when he was a bit younger. So did it help Grigor win a bunch of majors like Federer? I mean, no, Federer can't just give anyone that simple of advice and it's just going to magically make them a champion. So Serre's all on his own. It might be encouraging, but he's still got a lot of work to do. But he's got a real opportunity here in Miami, especially where. All right, here's the big thing. Here's the big story. I didn't even say it yet. Why'd I wait so long, Mr. Goat? Oh, you're cleaning? Okay, don't worry about it. The big news, the big thing I want to talk to you about is Del Potro. At the end of the match against Raonic, who's starting to grow on me a little bit, I have to admit. Happy for Raonic. It's hard to struggle in tennis. After that match was over, Chris Fowler, I believe it was, said Del Potro is #1 tennis player in the world right now. He's playing the best tennis. He's basically, I mean, obviously he's not #1 in the world, but the rankings don't always reflect the reality of right now. Chris Fowler's making a case that right now Del Potro is the very best we have. So I really want to hear what everyone thinks of that. Comment below. I will admit, Del Po has been playing some of the best tennis of the moment. I think a lot had to do with the very slow, high-bouncing Indian Wells. Miami, of course, is not the fastest hard court. I mean, Del Po likes this. These courts are fast enough for his big, powerful forehand to do major damage, but they kind of let the ball bounce in a strike zone that he can handle. And the big guys, even though Del Po's the best big mover around, one of the best, Sasha Zverev looks very good too. A slightly slower court gives you a little bit more time to get your big body in position and deal out some major damage with your big ground strokes. When you get the big body, you move a little slower, but you dish out more damage with your big ground strokes. So real curious to hear what that is. Let's just get through this Del Po Raonic stuff really quick. I know some people were upset with the crowd, and I got to tell you, we heard the Wozniacki thing too. I've been there a lot. I've gone to Miami like 9 different years at least, 9, 10 years, something like that. And, first time I went was when Djokovic won for the first time when he was still a teenager. I think Djokovic was 19. What was that, 2005, 2006? Anyways, I've been going forever. The crowd gets really rowdy there, and they really get behind any Spanish-speaking players, especially South Americans. The crowd really gets behind them, and it's a lot of fun. Like, you want to see South American players do well there because you want to have that, like, super crowd energy. But they were a little too rowdy. They're cheering double faults from Raonic. When tie break in the third set, Del Po gets match points. And Raonic, he misses a first serve, and the crowd's cheering. And it's so funny listening to the chair umpire because he goes, yes, please, quiet, please. Thank you very much. It's like, they have to be so polite. But he doesn't want to say thank you very much to the rowdy crowd. So anyways, it's one of the last couple points of the match. Raonic misses the first. The crowd goes wild, cheering his fault, which is really frustrating when you're a tennis player. Raonic kind of backs off because the crowd won't quiet. They're like, please, quiet, please, thank you. The players who cannot play, thank you. Thank you very much. Raonic gets this crazy aggressive second serve, very risky, off the back of the line. Didn't even catch all the line, just some of the back. And he gets that serve to go somehow in a second serve, where if he doubles, it's triple match point all of a sudden. And Del Po somehow hits this miraculous return, gets it all the way back to the ankles, baseline of Raonic. Raonic misses, of course. And you feel kind of bad there because even though he got a great serve in, still, it's distracting, a good return off of a great serve and just having to back off because of the crowd. You can make a case for that. But bottom line is Del Po finishes the match with a big forehand, very strong finish. And even though Del Po looked tired to me at times and Raonic bailed Del Po out at times, Del Po is just mentally tough, so mentally tough that it makes me wonder if he can overcome the physical exhaustion. Because you know what I say about Del Po. I love him. Yeah, he can play some of the best tennis ever, but the big guy is always going to get a little tired. Let's look at this third set because what does it tell me? It reminds me of the Federer third set in Indian Wells with Del Po. Raonic, 70% win on first serve, 68% win on first serve for Del Po. So Raonic is winning more on first serve. On second serve, 50% versus 40%. So a 10% gain on second serve for Raonic. An extra ace, an extra double. And of course, they both broke each other twice. That's how the set started. So anyway, I just think it's interesting. Del Po wins even though Raonic is beating him in the stats department, although Del Po is 2% higher on first serve. And anyways, I thought that was interesting because we saw the same thing with Federer, where Federer had better stats in the third set than Del Po, but still loses that all-important third set. We saw the same thing here when Federer lost. Tanazi Kokkinakis, he wins that third set, but Federer had better stats everywhere there. First serve in, all of them double digits. That's really a head scratcher. So comment below, what do you think about Del Potro? Does he have enough heart and mental fortitude to get through and win this tournament? Or is he going to run out of gas? I mean, it's not going to be easy playing Isner. You know how hard it's going to be to break him. Raonic at least gave him some breaks. By the way, this is the fastest growing tennis talk show in the world, but it's the fastest growing tennis talk show in the world because of people like you. So make sure you give us a thumbs up, and don't just give us the thumbs up. Give us a nice touch volley off of that thumbs up. And make sure you lob a couple comments over the camera for us down below. And if you really like what we're doing here, then you might as well just go smash that subscribe button. How'd I knock a can of paint over there? By the way, Operation Boost Out will commence today at 3 p.m. very soon. This show will barely be out before the match. I'm going to be driving to Florida and getting in very late because I'm still here in Atlanta right now. Mr. Goat, are you so sad that I'm leaving again? I'm going to be getting into Miami very late. So while I'm on the road, I want everyone to tweet out hashtag Operation, all caps B-U-S-T, lowercase O-U-T, Operation Boost Out. Because we want PCB to have his breakout, or rather boost out experience right here at Miami. Maybe he could win this tournament. Does it feel like a long shot, Mr. Goat? You think it's a long shot? He's close. He's already close. So can he beat big, tall Kevin Anderson? Could be a tough match. Moving great, looking good. Let me know. Tweet me. Obviously, I'll be in the car, so I won't watch the match. I'll check the scores. I'll mostly try to check the tweets, especially if I go to the rest stop. You know, they get the rest stops on the interstate. You know what they also get when you go to Florida? Yeah, that's frightening, isn't it, Mr. Goat? If anyone's got some spare change, because those toll booths, I won't be able to make it back. I might not even make it down there. How much change is this, Mr. Goat? Is it enough? Give it a sniff. Make sure it's not poisoned. So I'm looking at this picture, and let's just look at the schedule, because the semifinals will be set. So this Danielle Collins beat Venus. So Venus doesn't even make it to, yeah, this is quarterfinal stage we're talking right here, right? Am I? Or is this women's semis? Whatever. So Venus was out. Venus is the last. I mean, I guess we could say Victoria Azarenka. She's not really a veteran. I mean, she's been around for a while. She's been gone for so long. It feels weird with her. I mean, she's still a fairly young woman, but she's the oldest lady in the pack. Venus is out. Danielle Collins, if you ever heard of her, comment below, right, Mr. Goat? Yelena Ostapenko, obviously I really like her. She's a pretty exciting player to watch. She's got some exquisite shot-making abilities. And sometimes she's like El Chapo a little bit. Like, you never know which one you're going to get. Is she going to make the amazing shots, or is she just going to make a bunch of errors and get blown away? And then we got Sloane Stephens and Victoria Azarenka. Now, Sloane Stephens, you know, she's still... 5 out of these 8 players are borderline next-geners. They're close enough to the next-gen generation to say, okay, this is one of the first Miamis that I can remember. I know we've had years where the top players skip Miami, but there's always some around. No Big Four, no Rafa, no Roger, which brings me to my story. Everything looks different. Let's talk about this. We got 2... Oh, and 1% of you are going to be so excited to hear the 1% Andy Murray news. We'll do that last. Federer versus Nadal. 14 years ago, greatest rivalry was born. 14 years ago on Wednesday, the Miami Open provided us with the beginning of what was to become one of the greatest rivalries sport has ever seen. March 28th, that's yesterday, March 28th, 2004, 21-year-old, this is so interesting to me. By the way, this is a little tennis history. I've been thinking about doing a new thing on the channel called Tennis History, where I'll make videos where I just take old match footage. Oh, by the way, I'm going to show you a great clip from the match where, surprisingly, most people don't remember this. The first time they play, Nadal beats Federer 6-3, 6-3.
It will be.
We got the stats to show you, too. It's interesting to look back on. But yeah, I've been thinking about doing this segment called Tennis History, where I'll just go through interesting times. I'll probably do a lot of Roger and Rafa stuff, of course. But we'll go over, you know, big matches that we all remember, and I'll try to take us back in time and talk about some of the stuff we might have forgot, some of the very interesting details, especially they can be so interesting now when we look back and compare to what we know would end up happening 14 years later in this case. So let me know, comment below if you would like my new idea for a show on here called Tennis History, or Tennis History with Matt, or Mr. Goat's Big Book of Tennis History. I don't know yet, but it's going to be some kind of tennis history thing where we go through big matches, talk about what happened, what was the main story, and what were the little interesting details we may have forgot all these years later. Comment below on that. March 28, 2004, 21-year-old Roger Federer previously triumphed at both Wimbledon and Melbourne, Australia. Australian Open. He had his eyes firmly set on another title in Miami. A month earlier, Swiss had become world #1 for the first time in his career. That's how long ago we're talking. Roger's third-round opponent, Rafa Nadal, a 17-year-old, right? 21-year-old Roger, 17-year-old Rafa. What both men did not expect on that day 14 years ago was for a rivalry to emerge that would captivate tennis audiences and sporting fans throughout the world for over a decade. That's pretty amazing. Are you falling asleep, Mr. Goat? Nadal was 34th in the world at the time, yet the youngster drew first blood in a thrilling and subsequently dominant performance, shocking the tennis world with an extraordinary 6-3, 6-3 display over Federer. That score does shock me. Put those stats on the screen, please. So all those years ago, look at these match stats. It looks very similar to a match we'd see today. Rafa's got 1 ace and 2 doubles. Roger's got 8 aces and 2 doubles. Rafa's got way more first serves in, 81 to 61%. Rafa does a better job. This is where he wins the match so easily. More serves in, and he's winning considerably. 17% more, 79 versus 62 on first serve 1. Federer gets a slight edge in second serve 1, +3, 59, 56. What blows me away in this stat, though, is that Roger had to save 4 break points, and 3 he couldn't. He was broken 3 times in this match, and he didn't even get to look at 1 break point against Rafa. Well, there's a little bit of tennis history for you, Mr. Goat. Take care of that. I've been waiting so long for Mr. Goat to start blowing things up with his laser eyes. Good job, Mr. Goat. Last thing, Andy Murray, former world #1 to play Labima Open. Labima Open. I've never heard of the Labima Open. I don't even know where that is. Oh, it's in Nederland. Ha! What do you know? 2-time Wimbledon champion Andy Murray will play at the Labima Open in the Netherlands this June. His first ever trip since hip surgery in January. It's a grass court tournament. Rosmalen, formerly known as the Rico Open. Okay. Take place from 11th to 17th June. Murray has not played in Netherlands since 2015. He says it's the perfect way for me to prepare for Wimbledon. Heard lots of good things about the tournament. Blah, 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 blah. All right, there you go. 1% of you got your Andy Murray news. We're all good now. Thank you for watching Coffee Break Tennis, the fastest growing tennis talk show in the world. I'm going to hop in a rental car. Mr. Goat will not get to go because they don't allow cats in Miami. Shh, don't tell him. That's not true. And you guys will see me either tomorrow or Saturday. We'll see what my energy level's like tomorrow. But we will be covering the tennis from Miami to see how this next gen semifinal weekend and final weekend goes. See ya!